What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my banner analysis and review of Legendary Deirdre. So she's a blue infantry mage who's an earth legendary unit and she's got her preferred weapon, Spirit Forest Writ. So this is a 14 might legendary weapon which has got effective damage against all kinds of dragons. And it also provides her with -1 special cooldown, and if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, then she can inflict -6 attack and resistance on the opponent during the combat, and she can also get guaranteed follow-up attack out of this condition, and she also disables any kind of adaptive damage of the opponents. This means that she's got really good matchup against dragons, and she can be a really good dragon slayer. And the final condition of this weapon is actually a visible resistance check, because it does say at start of the combat. And that's why Still Water is a pretty nice skill on her, because she does have this visible resistance check. So if she's got more visible resistance than the opponent, then she can deal debuffs to their attack and resistance 80% of that difference. So this can go all the way up to -12, so she can get deceptively bulky and hit even harder with this skill. And that's why Attack Resistance Menace is also a synergetic skill with this weapon. So she can actually get pretty bulky even on the physical side because of the sheer amount of attack debuffs that she can get out of this weapon. Just to give you an idea, if she has got 14 more resistance than the opponent, then she inflicts them with -18 attack and resistance debuff with this weapon alone in the combat. So that is quite a lot, and then you can even add on the attack rest tempo debuff and then the visible debuff from the menace skill, so she can definitely get pretty bulky. And then she's got her preferred special, Circlet of Balance. So the text is quite big, but it's pretty straightforward special. So this is kind of like Iceberg, where it deals damage based on her resistance. So she can deal damage based on 40% of her resistance. And then she's got Miracle built into this special. This Miracle does have 2 conditions, so I'm going to be explaining that. So the first condition is that if Deirdre or her foe's special is ready, or Deirdre or foe's special got triggered during the combat. And the second condition is that she can only get the Miracle when she initiates combat against the melee opponents. Against the ranged opponents, she's going to be having the Miracle in both phases, but against the melee units, she's only going to be having the Miracle in her player phase. So do not park her in range of a melee unit expecting her to live. And the difference between this Miracle and say the Miracle of Brave Seliph is that Deirdre's Miracle is only once per map. So she cannot really loop her Miracle with double Mystic Boost like Brave Seliph can. And it's pretty easy to get the Miracle because she already has 1 cooldown special with her weapon, so you can easily pre-charge it with Infantry Pulse, Asker, Duochrome, or even by running Time Pulse on her own kit. And against a lot of the hardy fighter opponents, their specials are going to be charged up, or in the case of Legendary Corrin, her Negating Fang is going to be charged up if she's using Shield Pulse. So in that case, it's pretty easy to meet the first condition. And in the second condition, you can easily initiate on any kind of opponent in the player phase and get the Miracle. And against the range units, it's pretty good to get the Miracle in the enemy phase because it means that in arena, you can use her and even tank something like Duochrome with his Deadeye and survive that with the Miracle and just nuke him into the outer space because you of course have the weapons triangle advantage and you're also a magical unit. So overall, the special is what makes Deirdre special, and she also has a pretty nice weapon which can give her a lot of in-combat debuffs. So those were her exclusive skills, and now we have got her rest of the base kit with Still Water 4. Like I said, this is a pretty good skill for meeting the visible attack check, and she's got attack resistance tempo, which is finally in the game, but it's unfortunately on Deirdre, so it is going to be a bit rare to get. But you can get the tempo skill and menace skill at the same time for a lot of mages, and this can be really good if they want to just spam their specials. And finally, she's got attack resistance menace, which is also pretty good with her weapon. So overall, Deirdre is a pretty powerful mage, and she can be a really good dragon slayer with that base 43 attack. We already know her stats, so having that high of an attack stat, and she also has base 43 resistance to go with it, which is really good. So there are definitely some of the options which you can try other than her base kit, and Still Water is going to be reducing her defense, and like I said, she can get deceptively bulky even on the physical side just because of the sheer attack debuffs that she can get. So you can easily run attack resistance unity with her so that you can combat those attack and resistance debuffs to her most important stats, and you can also run the new attack resistance finish on Deirdre. And this is really amazing, especially if you run her with Time Pulse, so she can hit even harder with the true damage and also get the healing out of it. And at higher investments, you can run a speed-based build because her speed is salvageable for her role. Now, a lot of times people do not understand why speed can actually help a slower unit like Deirdre, and the main reason being is that you can get past the slower opponents. The speed is not there to outspeed the faster opponents, which are hitting like 50-60 speed. It's only to outspeed and break through the follow-up negation effect of slower tanks who avoid the doubles. So having more speed means that you can win the speed check and still double them. And you're going to be seeing highly merged Deirdres maybe in arena with this kind of speeded investment, which is going to be making her even more annoying to face. For her slot B, the tempo skill is pretty nice, and you can definitely combo up the tempo skill with time pulse, because if she's going to be having time pulse with tempo, it means that against hardy fighter dragons like Ascended Idun for example, she can basically hit into her hardy fighter, and then after taking the counter attack from a distant counter dragon, she can again trigger her special and hit them really hard with her special. So that's why time pulse is going to be pretty good with her even with a tempo skill, because you can essentially trigger your special twice in the same round of combat in the player phase if the opponent counter attacks. And a lot of dragons are going to be using that nice new distant counter dragon sacred seal, so Deirdre just came in at the perfect time to just abuse that. She can also run null follow-up, and again, null follow-up is going to be helping you break past the follow-up negation units, and it can also help you stop the auto follow-up attacks of the enemies. So this can be really helpful. For example, if she's going to be facing someone like Eitri, and if she stacks up enough speed, then she can stop the follow-up attack of Eitri with null follow-up and still preserve her miracle. Now keep in mind that her miracle is only for one turn, so that's why null follow-up can really help you in that regard. And if Deirdre gets a lot of attack debuffs on someone like Brave Hector, and if he's running the Hardy Fighter build, then you can even stop his follow-up attack and just preserve your miracles. That's why null follow-up is going to be really good. Chill Defense Resistance 3 is only there if you are going to be plus in merging her, and if you really care about the arena scoring. And like I said, Time Pulse is going to be a fantastic slot C option. Attack Smoke 4 is also pretty good because it can give you the resistance buff and also give you the follow-up negation, which is something that she lacks with her weapon, so it can make her even more annoying with her miracle. And at higher investment, Attack Speed Oath 4 is going to be pretty nice for the teleportation, especially for arena, and also Speed Resistance Menace. For her Sacred Seal, you can just run the Form Sacred Seal, and it does have good synergy with the proximity that she requires with her weapon. Attack Resistance Ideal is also nice, and if you're going to be fully buffing her up, then Bonus Doubler is also going to be an option. So overall, Deirdre ends up being a pretty strong Dragon Slayer with Miracle in her special, and I don't think that she's too insane, but she is still a pretty good unit and good in her role for nuking dragons. And like I said, especially against a lot of the distant counter dragons, she's going to be proving to be pretty powerful. But of course, like a lot of mages, she is going to be getting stopped by Hardy Fighter and Deflect Magic, Sacred Seal armors, because she doesn't have a way of piercing through that damage reduction. So that can stop her, but overall she can hit really hard and be deceptively bulky. She is pretty strong, but not exactly a must-have per se. She can be really useful in summoner duels in arena as well for surviving many of the range matchups and also for dealing with the dragons. In Aetherwraith's defense, she's also going to be good as a Dragon Slayer against the Far-Steep dragons, and we have definitely got a lot of good dragons in recent times, and they also got the boost with the distant counter Dragon Sacred Seal, so she's going to be good with that role. But now let's take a look at the overall picture of the Earth Legendary units and where Deirdre fits into that. So in my opinion, the tier 1 unit for Earth Legendaries is going to be Legendary Nana. A lot of people underestimated her, but honestly she is so strong. She's essentially a delete button. She can pierce through damage reduction skills and also pierce through miracle effects, which is really strong. And in tier 2, I would say that after his refine and remix, Legendary Alm is so powerful. If Nana is a delete button as a melee cavalier, then Alm is basically that as a ranged unit. So he has got Lunar Flash too, which does pierce through damage reduction, and I've actually used him quite a lot in past couple of days, and many times he surprised me with how good of a nuke he is and how he can just kill even plus 10 tanks and plus 10 far safe tanks that easily. So definitely a top tier unit after his refine. Combat wise, he's absolutely amazing, but for the arena scoring, there's much to be desired out of him because he is definitely one of the older units, but for the combat, he is definitely really strong. Now, I would put Deirdre in tier 2 along with Legendary Claude. So Deirdre is going to be pretty strong as a nuke, not exactly being able to nuke as hard as Alm, but still a really strong Dragon Slayer, and she can also score well in arena and also have good arena matchups against many of the range units because of the miracle that she has got. And I used to put Claude in tier 1, but he has been demoted to tier 2. I really like Claude a lot, but his damage output can be lackluster at times, especially against a lot of the stacked up far-safe tanks. His Fire Mobility and Fallen Star are still pretty good, but you definitely have to watch out for damage, reduction, piercing specials, and skills. In tier 3, I would put Legendary Tiki and Julia. So Deirdre just got released before Julia's Refine and Remix next month, I believe. So Julia can also function as a Dragon Slayer, but definitely not as good as her mom. So I hope that she can get a pretty good Refine and Remix, but it's gonna be pretty hard for her to compete with Deirdre, who just got released and who's so powerful. Now Tiki can struggle in the Earth season with these two Dragon Slayers, but she can still function as a decent far-save tank, especially with the preferred far-save that she has got with her Slotsy skill. And she can also run Hardy Fighter like a lot of the far-save tanks. And in tier 4, I would put Legendary Faye, Legendary Seliph, and Legendary Grima. Now, Legendary Faye, unfortunately, is not going to be having as impressive of a miracle like Deirdre or Brave Seliph, so her performance can suffer a bit, even though Life Unending might look really good on paper. She can be a bulky dragon, but she definitely has her shortcomings in terms of matchups. And Legendary Seliph, after Brave Seliph has got released, it's so sad for Brave Seliph, honestly. Grima can function as a flying colorless dragon, but it is pretty hard to omni tank, especially nowadays, and I kinda wish that instead of having distant counter in a weapon, she actually got some other effect, because now dragons already have access to distant counter Dragon Sacred Seal. So maybe if she had a really stacked weapon, that would have helped her. And also her arena scoring is not really all that high. Alm also doesn't score as high, but he's still so insane in combat with his nuking. And now in tier 5, we have got our last Earth Legendary unit and Legendary Ike. He was definitely a victim of the unfortunate Remix and Refine, and it can be really hard for him to keep up, even at max investment, against a lot of the modern threats. So let me know what you think about my Earth tier list and how would you place these units yourself. Overall, this banner does give you good value on blue color, green color, and also colorless depending on your goals. And blue, of course, has the new legendary unit. Green does have good fodder as well, with Fallen Gustav there and Flow Guard being provided by Thorr. And red is definitely the most lackluster it has ever been in a long time. And blue is good if you want to just get the merges for your Earth and Wind legendary units, Deirdre and Faye being the Earth legendary units, and Legendary Myrrh being the Wind unit, who can also score pretty high in arena. And green does have 2 mythics. Now that said, the next month is going to be having a new Cyan banner, hopefully, or maybe a new theme. Last year it was the Cyan banner, and before that it used to be the Dancer banner theme. So maybe they'll have a new theme this time around. Sothis and or Julia are going to be getting their remix next month, so they're going to be on a banner. So if you're trying to plus and merge them, then it could be an option. And last year we did get Yuri in September as well, so maybe 3 hopes could happen, or some kind of 3 houses content could happen in a banner. And then finally at the end of next month, a new water legend could happen, because we do know the legendary and mythic units getting the rerun next month. And likely they're going to be putting the remaining 2 fallen units on the banner along with Tine and Ascended Farina. Usually they put the new legendary or mythic unit with the recent most legendary or mythic unit, and in that case, with Legendary Xander being present there, it could be a green water legendary unit. So we have talked about Deirdre and the Earth legendary units, and now let's go over the other units present on this banner. Legendary Myrrh is a wind flying blue dragon with godly breath, providing her with the damage reduction and also the auto follow up, and her exclusive Slotsy skill Darkling Guardian can provide her with the follow-up negation and also +6 defense and resistance buff to herself, and she also gets the warp bubble status. So this allows her to stop any kind of teleporting or any kind of warping within 4 spaces of her, which can be really useful in Summoner Duels S, especially against Katria teams and Ashe. So all of those teams are going to be pretty annoying with their warping, and just like Gatekeeper, she does have that warp bubble effect. Gatekeeper does have the super obstruct as well, but Myrrh is going to be a lot better in the combat because of being a dragon and also getting access to distant counter Dragon Sacred Seal this month. And that allows her to score like a 200 BST unit with a 300 SP passive slot B skill, which is also an option now. So she definitely has much better scoring after the month of August. Her fodder is also pretty nice with defense res unity, which is going to be nice for any kind of pure tank, so you can essentially get immune to the debuffs of Dark Shrine or chill defense res 3 or any of those debuffs, and if you inherit this to a dragon, then you can also get Dragon Wall at the same time. Legendary Fae is an Earth Blue Infantry Dragon, and with her Dazzling Breath, she's able to get the follow-up negation and the guard effect on the opponent, and the main selling point of Fae is going to be Life Unending, which basically pre-charges itself at start of a map, and it can basically give her a second life because it does have Miracle built in, and when she hits 1 HP, she's able to heal up all of the HP, so this is nice for survival, but it's not really an offensive special. Still, she can be a decent tank, again because this encounter Dragon Sacred Seal is a thing, so she can free up her slotty skill and run something else like Attack Resistance Unity or even the new Attack Res finish, so those are always going to be the options. And she can also score well in Arena, and her scoring potential has improved this month, just like Legendary Myrrh. And she also has amazing fodder with Distance Stance and Defense Res Menace, which you can get at the same time. And Distance Stance is going to be the distant counter skill to be run on any kind of slower tank, so the extra resistance can definitely help them against the mage matchups, and especially if they're running something like Dragon Wall. Fallen Gustav is a bulky axe cavalier, and he can get the special fighter and auto follow up against the enemies if they can counterattack. Having the special fighter is pretty good for the survivability because of the guard effect, and he can also easily use specials like Bonfire and Gale Force. Now unfortunately, there's quite a bit of competition in the axe cavalry department this year with Summer Dimitri, Groom Roy, and also Legendary Xander, but all of these cavaliers are going to be a lot faster, so they're not as susceptible to null follow up. On the other hand, Gustav has got more resistance than them, so he can be a bit more bulky, and he's of course going to be an amazing fodder if you're trying to build up the latest free-to-play unit, Geralt, because he can get the Neotrace skill and Attack Smoke 4 at the same time, and Attack Defense Catch 4 is also nice, but it could be found in the Divine Code section on Zeke as it is, so the Trace skill and the Smoke 4 skill at the same time are a lot more coveted in my opinion. And this is going to be an amazing fodder for any kind of slower cavalry unit or flyer, so it makes him a top tier fodder and definitely the best fodder out of the green pool. Thorr is still absolutely amazing as an Astra Mythic because she has got Warbreaker, which can provide you the special acceleration on both opponent's hits and your own hits. So she can be an amazing unit for Gale Force teams, especially when she initiates combat, so you can just free up the Heavy Blade and Flashing Blade Sacred Seal from your units, and that makes for an amazing and fun Gale Force experience. She's of course really powerful herself with that armor effective damage in her weapon, and she can also get the Dull All effect, ignoring any kind of visible buffs of the opponents if she's solo, so she's really powerful as a unit and also as a support unit and for enabling Gale Force strategies in the Astra season. She's not only good for Gale Force, but she can also support Vantage strategies and safe tanking strategies with the Warbreaker, so you don't really need to run the Breath Sacred Seal on your safe tanks, and the Vantage units can basically run a 2 cooldown special and retaliate with their brave hits like Shadows of Valentia Pala or even Altina. Her fodder is also pretty nice with Flow Guard, so it is a rare skill and it could be useful on many flying units and cavalry units that want to use the skill in the player phase. Triandra is a Dark Mythic Dancer who can provide the speed to your Dark Blessed allies, and she can function as a nice dancer and mythic unit at the same time. Unfortunately, she is going to be susceptible to Milla's isolation because of her low defense, and because of being a ranged dancer, oftentimes she can get baited out and she could just be forced into attacking. So that is going to be a bit annoying, but doubling down as a mythic and dancer is always helpful for her team. She can also provide the debuffs and the guard effect with her dance, which can definitely be pretty annoying for a lot of enemies, especially if they're trying to tank, so the guard effect can just stop their specials in their tracks. And she's not exactly a must-have like Medius or Note for the Dark Mythics, but still she can be nice in her bonus season, or if you just want to have another mythic unit on your team. And she also has good fodder with attack speed push 4 and speed resistance rain, which you could get at the same time. Fallen Rhea is a colorless armored dragon who can function really well as a near safe tank and can also function as a far safe tank, and she can get the damage reduction from her true dragon wall and also has good one-shot potential with her weapon, providing her with the true damage depending on foes' resistance. She can easily spam specials like Glimmer or even Iceberg if you run Warding Breath on her, and if you run her with far save, then she does have access to distant counter dragons now, which is going to enable her to just kill a lot of the ranged threats that try and attack her. And she can definitely get quite bulky. You have seen me use her in Aether Raid's offense, so I really like her as a near safe tank. And if you want to use her as a far safe tank, then you unfortunately might have to use Sylvalin's shield so that you can actually survive Duo Chrom, who's going to be really annoying for the far safe matchup. So she's going to be having that weakness to Deadeye and Lethality if you don't really run a defensive special like Sacred Cowl, which you can definitely pre-charge for summoner duels. So overall, she's going to be functioning as a pretty amazing tank who's also self-sufficient because of the healing that she can get out of True Dragon Wall if you have any kind of dragon or beast ally on your team. So I've actually had pretty good time using her, and she's quite solid as a tank. She also provides you amazing fodder with Bracing Stance 3 and Near Save, which you could get at the same time. Ashe is absolutely amazing as a light mythic and just in general as a unit because of having Opening Retainer, which can allow her to have 2 space guidance, so that is extremely powerful in Aether Raid's offense and also in summoner duels. And the fact that Ashe can be so bulky and also hit pretty hard is just the cherry on top. You can of course run some creative builds with Shield Pulse and running Pavis with her, or even running Miracle with her. And in Aether Raid's Chaos Season, she can also be used in the defense, and that teleporting that she provides with Opening Retainer is gonna be absolutely amazing as long as you don't really face any kind of Gatekeepers and Legendary Myrrhs. So overall, she's pretty fantastic, and she also has good fodder with Attack Defense Unity and Lull Attack Defense, which you could get at the same time. Legendary Corrin is a wind colorless infantry dragon, and with the metagame progressing, we are starting to see her age a bit because we have even more stronger threats that can hit really hard. So at times it could be a bit hard for her to take them on and survive. And at least now she has a new toy in Distant Counter Dragons, so she can give up her slotty skill for actually running something like the Finish skill, and whenever Attack Speed Finish comes out, that is going to be amazing for her because it does have good synergy with Shield Pulse and Negating Fang. And the fact that we have more easier ways of getting null follow-up with Infantry Speed Tactic or Infantry null follow-up, it's really good for her because she can still keep Shield Pulse and Negating Fang. And she also has a lot of options that she can run in her slot C. She's not going to be the highest scoring wind legendary unit or the best dragon tank, but overall at high investment she can be a fast unit who can have the Negating Fang, giving her the damage reduction, and it cannot really be pierced by Deadeye or Lethality, but Legendary Nana can definitely pierce through it. Galzus unfortunately is in a sea of sword infantry units, and he's a 5-star logged sword infantry unit, which is as worse as it gets for any kind of sword unit because you're just stuck here and it's gonna be pretty annoying for the availability as well, even for your fans who are trying to build you up and plus and merge you. And Florid Cane Plus is actually a pretty amazing weapon now that you can run on these sword infantry units to give them Canto, so that is something you can do if you're a big fan of him. But other than that, there's not going to be much of a reason to build him up over the other modern sword infantry units, which are also 5-star logged, but they have the preferred skills and are just going to be much better. He also provides you with some good fodder in Surge Sparrow and Null Follow-Up that you could get at the same time. So if you don't want to fodder off Brave Erica for Surge Sparrow, then Galzus is definitely there for that fodder. Hugh is a red infantry mage, and he's one of those units who requires Dragon Flowers to get more stats with his weapon, and if you've given him 3 or more Dragon Flowers, then he can get the bonus doubler effect in the combat, and this can actually stack up with the bonus doubler Sacred Seal that he can run, and also bonus doubler if he can provide that with someone like Astrid or even Legendary Eliwood. So he can basically be a mage who can be a huge stat ball, and he can actually be pretty deceptively bulky, especially if you run him with the proper support and if you give him something like Speed Smoke 4. So that is going to be his niche as a red infantry mage, and he does provide you with some decent fodder and Speed Defense Ideal 4 and Rouse Attack Speed 4, but the Oath 4 skills are just so much better for so many infantry units, and Rouse skills only provide you with the Null Panic effect, and the teleportation and the extra stats from the Oath 4 skills are going to be much better. So now that we have Oath 4 skills, the Rouse 4 skills are not going to be seen much on infantry units, but it could still be an option on a cavalry unit, and Speed Defense Ideal is usually going to be used on units which have some kind of speed stacking build or damage reduction, and they also want to get bulky on the defensive side. One example being Note. The last unit for this banner is going to be Legendary Seliph, and after the release of Brave Seliph, yeah, it's not going too well for our Legendary Seliph here because he does not really function too well in the enemy phase for which he's made for, and his auto follow-up only happens in the enemy phase, so he doesn't really have any kind of player phase, and his speed is too low to, realistically stack that up even if you want to. The best thing out of him is going to be the healing that he can get out of Virtuous Tearfing, which can definitely be pretty good for the self-sustain, but overall Brave Seliph is just going to be a much impressive sword cavalry unit who can also function in the enemy phase and can be a lot more annoying and really threatening because of actually having a mixed phase and actual speed stats, unlike Legendary Seliph. There is still a lot of time for his weapon refine and remix, and until then it is not going to be too well for Legendary Seliph. He can score well in arena as an Earth Legendary, but the actual matchups in the enemy phase are going to be a bit annoying at times for him in the arena game mode itself, and he does have good fodder with distant counter and joint tone defense, which you could get at the same time. So joint tone defense is not the greatest skill, but still it could be nice for arena scoring as a 300 SP slotsy skill, and distant counter is a pretty popularly used skill on a lot of builds, so it can always be helpful. So I hope you all enjoyed this banner review. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as dragons against Deirdre. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.